Welcome to Akamara, a city where time has stood still and life has vanished without a trace. Once a thriving metropolis, today its streets are filled only with eerie silence and emptiness. Many believe that Akamara is a cursed city. According to legend, something terrible happened here, and since then, it has been left to be forgotten. But what really happened in this city, and why did its inhabitants abandon their homes, leaving them to decay under the shroud of oblivion? Rumors suggest that the key to unraveling the mystery lies inside this building. It served as a center for scientific research, and perhaps within its walls lies the answer to the enigma of Akamara. Rumors say that it was here that experiments were conducted, exceeding human understanding. Perhaps it was they who led to the demise of the city. But, as always in such stories, the truth remains hidden. We can only guess what really happened. Or perhaps some secrets are better left undiscovered. Germany. This sanatorium is located in the town of Pellitz in Brandenburg. Then no one could have guessed that this beautiful place would ever instill horror in. Initially, a huge complex consisting of more than 60 buildings was conceived as a sanatorium and was intended for the treatment of tuberculosis patients. Construction on the territory of Belitz-Heilstätten began in the 19th century and lasted more than 30 years. In addition to the huge hospital building, there were utility buildings, churches, cafes, bars, and many shops. The sanatorium rightfully could boast an autonomous heating system and water supply. Belitz-Heilstätten could be called a city within a city. So rational and logical was everything built here. With the onset of the First World War, tuberculosis faded into the background, and the sanatorium was converted into a military hospital. In 1916, even a wounded foot soldier, young Novoranitz, Adolf Hitler, was treated. After the war, the hospital again became a sanatorium, and a new lung surgery building was erected on its territory. But wars did not leave Belitz-Heilstätten alone. During World War II, the hospital fell into the hands of the victor. Now it housed Soviet military bases and a clinic for military personnel and high-ranking officials of the GDR. And then there was the standout case that started it all. But wars did not leave Belitz-Heilstätten alone. During World War II, the hospital fell into the hands of the victor. Now it housed Soviet military bases and a clinic for military personnel and high-ranking officials of the GDR. And then there was the standout case that started it all. In 1950, the surgical building burned down here, along with 200 lying patients. And after this incident, patients began to be haunted by shadows that appeared out of nowhere and disappeared in the corridors of the post-ward. People became afraid to be on the territory of Belitz-Heilstätten. Nurses complained that there were strangers on the territory. They saw silhouettes watching them from dark corners of the buildings. This was confirmed by patients who had practically lost their sleep. They talked about how, at the moment when they fell into a drowsy state, they saw shadows hanging over their beds and filling them with horror. But besides shadows, much more terrible and real things began to happen on the territory of the sanatorium. Every year, on Hitler's birthday, murders occurred here, which resembled ritual sacrifices. In the early 2000s, the Belitz-Heilstätten sanatorium was abandoned, but strange things continued to happen on its territory. And among them is the resonant story of what happened in 2006. A tourist from Australia wrote on social networks that he was now in the mystical Belitz-Heilstätten sanatorium and saw how two completely different shadows were projected onto the wall from him. Unfortunately, he never managed to publish the photos. His body was found the next day. According to the forensic expert, cardiac arrest. Today, Belitz-Heilstätten is an extremely inhospitable and eerie territory, on which there are a large number of semi-destroyed and dilapidated buildings, overgrown with bushes and whimsically twisted trees. The hospital has long been looted by those who were not afraid of bad reputation. No one knows what happened to the looters. The fact that this is, in fact, a place guarded by ghosts adds horror and strangeness to this place. Moreover, in the semi-destroyed walls of the sanatorium Letters from soldiers are often found, which, instead of being sent, were simply walled up in the wall. The residents of the neighboring town of Pellets say that few people returned home after treatment at the hospital, but this information cannot be verified because the archives of Belitz-Heilstätten are classified. Those who have visited these ruins say that the hospital literally drains energy from the living, negatively affects the psyche. You feel like someone is walking behind you, and from some windows, you feel someone's gaze following you. In the middle of the 19th century, Madame and Monsieur Laura wanted to move from the bustling city to a quieter place closer to the sea, where they could build a new wonderful home for themselves. Their eyes fell on these lands, which had previously been a subject of dispute for a long time after the death of the last owners. Monsieur Laura immediately bought them at auction at the highest price. None of the bidders could offer more. By 1890, this castle was built here. How wonderful it was, the castle on the seashore with landscapes constantly changing due to the ebb and flow, so clearly visible from the windows. A huge forested garden, a small private chapel. How quiet and peaceful it was here. Mary Laura had all those benefits that ordinary people only dreamed of. Huge fortunes, servants, the most beautiful dresses that could be obtained, and finally, her castle, into which her loving husband even allowed her to make her own adjustments twice in the midst of construction. What nonsense that the walls had to be dismantled and waste time. Only one thing saddened this rich woman. She never had children, and Mary endured it very painfully. Several times they helped other people's children, paying for their treatment or sending them to study in good schools. And then one day they decided to adopt a boy named Maris, who had lost his mother. Unfortunately, never knowing a long and happy life in the new estate, Monsieur Laura died after the construction was completed, and a few years later Mary remarried to Monsieur Geoffrey. This marriage also did not bring a couple of new children, so all the care, love, and attention went to the adopted Maris, smart and capable of inventions. Mary was ready to give him all the best, but in 1900, a disaster struck. The 12-year-old boy playing near a nearby airlock fell into it and drowned. The locals who had fled from all nearby houses for a long time remembered the reaction of Monsieur Geoffrey, who saw this, tearing his hair out of despair and shouting something like, "But this guy was so smart." Mary could not bear this blow and lost her mind. No amount of wealth, castles, and money could make her happy anymore. Geoffrey was in despair and did not know what to do with his sick wife until he saw her throwing money into a lit fireplace, and that was the last straw. The woman was admitted to a hospital in which, after a year and a half, she died. Geoffrey also died at this time, since after the death of Maurice. The couple had no heirs. They bequeathed their estate to an organization dealing with children with tuberculosis so that the local sea air would bring them back to life. This is the story that happened here.